firm of Civic. In my brokerage and in my legal practice, I work in the areas of residential and commercial real estate and real estate development. So I'm really happy to be here today to give you an overview of what you can expect in the process getting ready for your closing date in conjunction with your lawyer or notary public. I typically will tell purchasers to look for a lawyer or a notary public about 2 months prior to their closing date. This should give you enough time to find someone that you're comfortable to work with, and also give you enough time to prepare the documents that your lawyer or notary are going to be asking you to provide. I am not going to get into the difference between a lawyer and notary in this case. However, because I'm sitting here as a lawyer, I will continue to use the term lawyer, but really the choice is yours. You can use either for your closing. Once you have selected your lawyer, there are going to be some documents that you will want to start getting prepared. The first document that almost every lawyer is going to ask you for is a copy of your purchase contract. Your lawyer is going to need a fully executed copy of your purchase agreement. It's really important that the copy that you provide to them is the final version, and the same is true for any addendum. Any addendum that you sign in addition to the contract needs to be provided to your lawyer and needs to be the fully executed copy. Get that organized. The other thing that you need to provide is if there's an assignment, the assignment agreement. Your lawyer needs to see that assignment agreement, and it also needs to be the fully executed copy. If you are signing under a power of attorney, your lawyer will need a copy of that power of attorney document. That will be important for them prior to closing. IDs. Your lawyer needs a government-issued ID with a photo of you. That is important, as well as a secondary piece of ID with the same name. Now, what I want to say is that it is not uncommon that names change from the time that you purchase and to the time that you close. If you're planning on using a different name from the one that is on the contract, provide your lawyer with the documents to support that name variation, because they will need to have that on them for closing. If you're purchasing as a corporation, then you need to have your corporate documents prepared for your lawyer. These will typically include your certificate of incorporation. These will include your most recent annual filing, your notice of articles, and your central securities register. Ultimately, your lawyer needs to know who the directors are of your corporation and who the shareholders are. That is going to be important. Contact details. Your lawyer needs your contact details and the contact details for any other purchaser that is going to be going on to the contract. They will also need your contact details for your mortgage broker. Oftentimes throughout the process, your lawyer and the mortgage broker and then ultimately the lender need to be in touch with each other, so it's important that that's provided. Insurance broker. Sometimes we get asked to help with insurance, and contacting the insurance broker is how we do that, so that information is helpful to us as well. Your real estate licensee. Your real estate licensee is a really good resource for your lawyer. They typically will have the documents that you don't have and that you are required to provide to your lawyer. And they also oftentimes can answer questions about the deal that you can't. So they're a really good resource for your lawyer. You are also going to need to provide your SIN number, which is needed for your property transfer tax form. If you're uncomfortable providing that information electronically, which some are, you can always phone that number in and then just verify that it's correct on the document. You are also going to need to provide your birth date and your citizenship status. Those details are also important for the forms required for closing. There are certain questions that I will ask a client that usually will surprise them. So I want to prepare you for those questions so that you won't be surprised. I typically will ask a client, especially if they are purchasing with another person, if they plan on holding title as joint tenancy or as tenancy in common. Joint tenancy has a right of survivorship, tenancy in common does not, but there are tax implications and estate planning implications, so you really should talk to your lawyer about this to make sure that you're making the right choice for yourself. The GST rebate. Do you qualify for a GST rebate? Everyone knows, for the most part, that GST is payable on new construction, but there is a rebate that you might be able to qualify for. So you should be asking your lawyer if you qualify and get that advice, because the GST rebate is treated differently depending on the vendor. So you might need to have the full 5% of the purchase price at the time of closing, and you won't get the rebate until later, which will be sent to you by CRA. So you want to know that if you do qualify for it. Property transfer tax. Do you qualify for a PTT exemption? I'm oftentimes surprised by how many clients think that the PTT can be paid after closing. That's not the case, and it actually can be a pretty substantial amount. So you want to know ahead of time if you qualify for an exemption, whether it's the whole exemption or partial exemption. And this is something that you will want to ask your lawyer about, and be prepared for the amount if you need to pay it. The same is true for additional property transfer tax. That might be applicable to you, and you will want to be prepared for that. There are some additional points that I want to make just to help you in this process. The first point is that if you are planning on adding or removing a name from contract prior to your closing date, you need to give your lawyer enough time to prepare for that. It's not always an easy step, so the more time you can give them, the better. Completion notice. You are going to get your completion notice from Transca Development, and when you do, make sure that your mortgage broker / lender has a copy, as well as your real estate licensee. Your lawyer will typically know because you'll likely call them with it, but you do want everyone who helps you to have that date so that they're all working off the same timeline. On the note of timeline, don't be surprised if you actually don't meet with your lawyer, whether it be in person or remotely by virtual meeting, 2 to 3 business days prior to your closing. Don't be startled. Nothing's going wrong. That's quite common. You are not going to be getting your keys from your lawyer. Not everyone realizes this. You are going to be getting your keys from Transca Development's team, and this will be done no earlier than the possession date. Your legal account. I just want to point out that a lot of times purchasers are surprised by the cost of their lawyer's legal account. It doesn't just include, though, their legal fees, but it also can include disbursements, which are third-party charges, and other charges plus tax. This account can add up and oftentimes does surprise clients. But what you can do is talk to your lawyer or notary prior to and just get an estimate from them so that you're prepared for that amount. And finally, I just want to say that this should be an exciting time for you, and the process can be streamlined if you choose a lawyer or notary who's experienced. So I hope you do, and I hope it is an exciting process for you. And I want to congratulate you on this purchase, on this exciting time, and wish you all the best.